Hey everyone, it's me, Matt. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing great. We've had another beautiful week of weather here in Florida. It's been really warm, and I hope it's been just as beautiful where you're at. So in today's video, I'm going to pay some attention to my front yard garden. I've spent so much time in my backyard over the last several weeks with my backyard makeover project. It's time I show my front yard some love. So I figured I'd plant my Scabiosa plants that I grew from seed, as well as give you a front garden tour so I can show you all my beautiful plants that are blooming right now. So let's get into it. So starting off with my Scabiosa or Pincushion flowers, I grew these from seed and then potted them up into these 4-inch containers in mid-April. You can see they've put on a lot of size. They've been ready to be planted out in the landscape for a while. I just haven't had the time, but today is the day. So a little bit of background on these plants. These are the Black Knight variety, and they bloom a deep reddish purple, almost black flower. They're fairly drought tolerant, they're deer resistant, the pollinators love them. They'll grow to be 12 to 24 inches tall and wide. They like full sun and they're hardy in USDA zones 10 and higher, but they can be grown as annuals in lower zones. They also come in a variety of colors including white, pink, and purple, and they bloom summer through fall. So my plan is to pop these in randomly throughout my front landscape. I've got my hand shovel and my granular slow release fertilizer, so let's get them all planted in the ground. Really quick, I also have some Feverfew and Love and a Mist plants that I started from seed. The Feverfew is finally putting on a little size, but the Love and a Mist is struggling. I've pretty much given up on these flowers. I think I'm just going to transplant these seedlings out into my front landscape and see what they do. They may or may not make it, but this will be my last ditch effort with these plants. All done, everything's planted and watered in. So you kind of saw how I tuck the plants in throughout my front garden bed. Now that the Scabiosa plants are in the ground, they should really start taking off, and I'm hopeful that the Feverfew and Love in a Mist put on some size too. So now that the planting project is done, I wanted to give you a front garden tour to highlight all the beautiful plants that are in bloom right now. Starting off with my lantana, look how big these plants have gotten since I pruned them back in mid-April. They're also covered in flower buds and flower blooms. Moving down to the end of my driveway, my Dune sunflowers have really taken off. This is an amazing ground cover plant. It's a Florida native. The pollinators love the little yellow flowers. And best of all, these plants aren't hooked up to any irrigation. They only get watered when it rains, and they're thriving. Moving back up to my front garden bed, you can see my purple zinnias have also put on quite a bit of size, and some have even started blooming. I'm really loving the pops of purple in this bed. Over here, my white bacopa ground cover and purple gomphrena are also doing really well. I feel like the bacopa really took off over the last 2 weeks. And then check out my white verbena plants that I propagated from cuttings. They're doing really good. They're in full bloom. I love how these verbena blooms frame the mulch pathway up toward my house. And you can also see the parent plants on the left side looking really good as well. My milkweed plant is also doing really well since I heavily pruned it a few months ago. The monarch butterflies and caterpillars are loving the flowers and all the new growth. Coming up to my front porch flower bed, you can see my purple and white impatiens have put on a ton of size. I will say the plants closest to the sidewalk are struggling. As the sun's shifted in the sky over the last few weeks, they're getting blasted with afternoon sun and wilting. I think I'm going to need to transplant the plants in the front half of this bed into my backyard shade garden. I think they'll definitely do better back there. Looking up at my front porch, everything is looking so beautiful. All my pothos and my oxalis and dichondra container plants are doing great. Also, check out my container herb garden. It's doing so well. I've cut on it so much this spring. I had to move it up to my front porch because it's been so hot lately. The soil's been drying out and the plants have been wilting in the afternoon sun. I need to hook it up to drip irrigation, but other than that, it's doing so good. Moving over to my Adirondack chairs, I'm really loving how the purple gomphrena and white dianthus flowers really filled in the area between the chairs. And you can see I have more white verbena that I propagated from cuttings over here to the left, tucked under my tropical sage plants. And then rounding out my front landscape, I've got my purple butterfly bush and my black-eyed Susan flowers. There's also some purple zinnias tucked in this space, and of course my newly planted Scabiosa and Feverfew plants. Everything is really filling in so nicely. I love how this entire front garden bed is coming together. So that's going to do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed the front garden tour, and I'm so happy I got all my plants in the ground today. I'm going to keep an eye on all of them as they settle into their new homes and give them supplemental water as needed. Remember to hit those like and subscribe buttons so you can hang out with me in future videos. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.